Hello, everybody, and welcome on into the starting nine. Martino, Puccio, Mike Phillips, presented by U Stadium. Mike, it's over. I don't know. I don't know what to say. We're trying to keep a positive attitude, guys. If you like the show, if you like U Stadium's content, please like and subscribe. It is draft week, so Mets and Jets fans, it's going to get worse. Don't worry. Which is basically, Mike, what we're just here. Let's just rip the Band-Aid off. There's nothing else to talk about. The Mets are the worst team in baseball. They have lost 11 straight games. This is the worst stretch that they've had in 22 years since, I believe, Art Howe was managing in 2004. It is an unmitigated disaster. You thought it could get worse, and oh boy, it did. The Mets have lost 11 straight, Mike Phillips. What are your words? Do you have any?
Well, I have two sound clips I will start with first.
Oh my God!
And
They stink!
that pretty much sums it up pretty well with the Mets here. This is like a complete and utter disaster here. Just simply put, like, you're sitting here on April 20th, 22 games of the season. You're 8 under 500, have lost 11 in a row, and have scored 1 run or less in 8 of your 22 games this season. That's about 40% roughly. I don't know the exact math here.
Right.
Like, this is just utter incompetence. And I know Juan Soto is important. Juan Soto should not break the entire offense by missing time.
My MVP pick will look good. That's about it from that. Listen, there's plenty of stretches and moments when you're a Mets fan, especially over the course of just our lives, especially the younger, anyone that did not witness 1986. We have seen some terrible baseball. There's been expectations at times, especially like last year, where we see a elongated collapse over the course of time. But never have I ever seen such a stretch where you see and watch a baseball game saying to yourself, there's no way that they're possibly going to do this. There's no way that you get into a base. Like, it is one of the most difficult things to only get 1 run. Javier Assad, one of the worst pitchers statistically in baseball, looked like Cy Young out there. It was pathetic from the Mets. And it's not even just the bad players being bad, like the Brett Beattys of the world. It's Bo Bichette being completely non-existent. Like, there was the one homestand against the Pirates where he was striking out a lot. You're like, okay, he's pressing. It's one of those things. Mike, he hasn't even looked relatively close to himself. It's bad. The situational hitting is bad. Let's get to some of the statistics that I have right here.
Okay.
This is over the 11-game losing streak that the Mets have. They've been outscored 62-19. They have scored 19 total runs. That equates to 1.7 runs per game. A lot of that is coming from the solo fly. All right. 200 batting average, 145 batting average with runners in scoring position. They can't even get a bloop or a lucky hit. All right. 6.25 team ERA. Some of that, I think, is exaggerated from, like, the Senga starts. The pitching as a whole has actually been good. It's been respectable. It was fine in Chicago, but still, they've also been shut out 3 times. That's nearly a third of the time during this losing streak. Sometimes you get angry at Mendoza, and we'll talk about that, and you can get upset at David Stearns, but largely this comes down to players. Were they zapped of their powers like it's Space Jam? What happened? This can't happen. I've seen way worse teams not even do this or come close to this. I have never. They actually invent new ways to make things unexplainable. I really don't have the words for it outside of anger. Go ahead. Just go.
Yeah. It's just one of those things where you watch the game and, like, it just feels like it's just the snowball has gone down the hill with the losing. At some point, it's like they're just waiting for that other shoe to drop in terms of, like, okay, how's it going to go wrong today? Like, is it going to be, somebody gives up a 3-run homer, like when we're tied 1-1? Is it going to be,
on
Michael
the first pitch?
Yeah. Is it going to be Michael Conforto ripping one down the line to tie the game in the 9th inning here? Is it just straining the ghost runner at second base in the extra innings? Like, it's just, you're waiting to see how are they going to do this today. And I feel like that's pervading the room too, where, like, you see a lot of, talk about, oh, it's not the manager's fault, it's our fault. But, like, there's a lack of leadership in this room. And we heard a lot of this offseason about, oh, we're bringing in culture changers. We have guys who are leaders, who are respected, who can take command of a room. Like, I don't know where the leaders are right now, because we have not, heard, we know there are a lot of quality beat reporters on the Met beat. We have not heard, okay, there's a closed door meeting right now. Discuss how it's not acceptable. We haven't heard, I heard a chair being thrown in there or screaming in there. Like, everybody seems way too calm for an 11-game losing streak. And you could say you're pissed all you want. Actions show more than words here. And like, they're not acting like a team that is pissed they've lost 11 in a row.
Which always goes back to the conversation overall, which I am okay with saying and agreeing with to a level, to an extent, in which you're saying you can't panic, you can't lose your minds. It's April, it's early. We have another 140 games of this, but there has to be a sense of urgency. A lot of these guys, right, they changed up everything, pretty much an entirely new coaching staff outside of Carlos Mendoza. And you say to yourselves, okay, we can't really blame the guys for what happened in 2025, but there are some people that are still there from then. And for the fans to be upset about this continuing, it's not just about April. We have said this. This is about from 1987 to 2026. That's what it's about. This isn't about a 20-game stretch. It's about a new owner who's spending a ton of money. It's signing a future Hall of Famer to the richest contract in the sports history. And still, they manage and find a way to embarrass themselves and not even get close to a level. We're not asking for 108 wins here in the 1986 Mets. We're asking for a consistent playoff team. They still failed to do that. And now, as you mentioned, and you sent a text yesterday to me and our good friend about this, that the Mets essentially, to get to 87 wins, if I remember this stat correctly, have to go 80-60 the rest of the season. So they have to play 20 games above 500 just to get to 87 wins. Now, every season is different. We don't know how much you need to get into the wild card at this point in time. But shit, man, that's a lot of wins to do in a 140 game sample size. So is that even doable for the Mets? Like, are you even seeing anything? Because it's just so frustrating too, just real quick. Like, David Peterson comes in yesterday. They do the opener with Tobias Myers. The pitching was great.
Yeah, they were fine. Yeah, they were fine. They scored a run. They had opportunities to add on. And then, everybody wants to get mad at Devin Williams. And Devin Williams, I mean, has not been great this far, but I can't get mad at Devin Williams, who's pitched about like twice in 10 days before yesterday. Like, it's hard if you're a reliever getting the wins, especially if you're a closer when you're not getting in games. And your point about the 80 and 60 here, like I looked this up here. Since June 13th of last year, this is a 115 game sample size. They are 45 and 70.
Yes.
That's 25 games below 500. You're just asking them to do the complete opposite of what they've been for almost a year to get to that 20 over mark. And you think you're going to need to be for wild card contention here. And the way that they are kind of, just going, okay, and we hear a lot of this in the Mets, like, we're working hard. I know we've had beat guys say, their guys going out for extra BP at the start of every day, which is nice. And Tommy Pham has said that. But
cool.
At some point, we've heard David Stern say, like, preparation is great. It's not translating to the field. Like, at some point, you know what? The process is flawed. Like, whatever you guys are doing is clearly not working because you have been the second worst team in the league for almost a calendar year. Largely the same process with new players, a lot of new players in that core. And as you said, the whole new coaching staff outside the manager.
How is it that the White Sox, who just broke the Mets record for the worst singular season record in Major League history, coming off of that, the Mets are rivaling their record, the Colorado Rockies record, within that time frame that you mentioned. And the process is flawed. I even brought this up like as a joke, but I'm kind of believing it at this point. They have to go the route of George Costanza. George said, I forgot who gave him the piece of advice. Whatever your first thought is, do the opposite. Whatever the Mets are doing when they step up to the plate, you're thinking fastball, think breaking ball immediately. And whatever your first thought idea is, or whatever comes into your brain first, do the opposite of it, because it's just so stupid to kind of see it. Luis Robert, right, for example, comes over from the Chicago White Sox, totally different approach. Almost every single person that has seen him play, especially in Chicago, has said he looks different. He seems to be applying whatever was told to him. Juan Soto does the same thing. Why does that get lost with everyone else? And I'm okay with being patient with a Carson Bench and that type of player. Jorge Polanco injured. We get it. That we'll get into that in a moment. But you can't sit there and tell me Brett Beatty deserves any more of a leash when he's been horrible and not even that good defensively in multiple positions. Then we have to sit here. Tommy Pham is washed. Let's call it what it is. Tyrone Taylor, nowhere near a good enough hitter, has never been a competitive hitter in his career, to be quite honest with you, especially with the Mets. So now we're sitting here having to roll out guys all the time. I understand there's injuries to Soto, Polanco, obviously Talkman. It hurts. Jared Young was hitting pretty well. He goes down with a meniscus tear.
Mets fans miss Jared Young. Think about how bad that is.
It is. And he wasn't even playing bad. Name why. He's not a household name. I get it. But he actually was putting together decent at-bats. It wasn't even bad out in the field. There is that snowball avalanche effects applying to the Mets right now. Because when it was opening day, you have Bichette. It's okay if he struggles. It's okay if Lindor struggles. Same thing for not okay with Lindor, by the way, because it's just been a long ongoing process. But the same gets applied to like Benj. You can't rip on him too much. He didn't have that much time in AAA. Kind of struggled there. It's carried over now. There's been ebbs and flows where he's looked pretty good and then overmatched, striking out a ton. Swing looks a little too long. But then that capitulates. Then you get Brett Beatty going like 0 for 20. And everyone's celebrating like it's some charity case. And then we have Vientos, who's either the greatest hitter on earth or absolutely useless, like Danny Garcia was. So I'm trying to understand why the Mets keep rolling out players that we know have not been good throughout their entire tenure. I respect David Stearns when he tries to have patience with certain people, and I'm okay with that. I totally get it. It's baseball. It's a long season. But how many fucking years of Brett Beatty do I have to see? Like, seriously. Like, I'm sick of this. And you make the point, too, and many others. Why does Brett Beatty have a longer leash than Ronnie Mauricio? It can't just be defense. Ronnie comes in, he gets a walk-off hit, which is still the last win that they've had.
Yeah, I was not getting opportunity. I was at the last game they won. The last time they were there, they won a game. I was in the building.
Which felt like forever ago. It still does, because 11 games is just incredible. That's the problem. And the really, really, really frustrating part is seeing Nolan McLean pitch well. Peralta's pitch fine. It's not the greatest of starts. He's still walking a little too many guys. You don't love it. Clay Holmes has been awesome. Peterson came out of relief in the opener. He was fine, but it's still David Peterson, another guy who doesn't deserve that much leash. And then you're also sitting there with Kodai Senga. Kodai Senga needs to be in the giver, where in that book, everything was the perfect temperature every single day. There's no issues in his environment. It's like Kodai Senga needs everything to be perfect with every single pitch. Otherwise, that's his excuse. Senga sucks. He's not good enough. I don't care what his velocity was in spring training. I don't care about his ghost forkball. We've seen it time and time again. The guy is nowhere near consistent. He's a walking injury, and he can't even throw strikes on a consistent basis. Yes. So David Stearns tried to get rid of him. Yeah, we could talk about Marcus Semien too if you want to, if there's other stuff within this.
Marcus Semien, to be fair, one of the few guys on that Chicago series actually hit. He hit 265 in that series, which is, no good shakes, but on this team, he's like a superstar.
He is. And he's been giving you the good defense. There's been zero, I can't even knock him for that. It's just that everybody at the same time, I don't know how. And then you start to press. But that's the point that you make. It's so great is, okay, when you have all these leaders, then what? What is the philosophy, though, with hitting? I don't see it. I'm tracking stuff because I was away this past weekend. I'm not able to watch the game, right? So you get the updates in the app and you're watching where the pitches go. Luis Torrens, and he's been fine. Phenomenal defensive catcher. As you mentioned, very streaky with hitting. He'll hit for a week and then do the usual thing like the rest of the Mets, where he just goes. I'll shift it a little bit to the Mendozas and the Stearns conversations. They changed everything up, right?
Yeah.
The players are still bad. Is it the process necessary? Or how angry do we get at David Stearns for this? I think the only thing where he looks comically awful with is, in my opinion, just the Brandon Nimmo Semien thing right now, which wasn't always about just exactly Nimmo.
I don't blame him for that one as much. Because you look at that's more of a long view situation, not a short term situation. I think where you get mad at David Stearns is the way he approached first base. And I understand letting Pete Alonso go. We don't want to pay him that much money. He's not been also a great start at the Orioles, but just assuming that some combination of Jorge Polanco's injury history, Mark Vientos, and Brett Beatty could be your first baseman for a year. That's been a problem. That has killed them defensively a couple of times. And we've seen, Beatty's booting grounders in Chicago over the weekend. We've seen Vientos have his moments where he's not in the right position. Polanco barely got to play there before he was hurt. And this is something where it was so easy to see if you wanted Brett Baty to be your Jeff McNeil, go get another big league caliber guy who can play the position. Like, for example, the Pirates signed Ryan O'Hearn, and Ryan O'Hearn is no great shakes as a player, but Ryan O'Hearn has played first base. He's a professional hitter, and it reduces your reliance on that duo of Baty and Vientos. Has been very inconsistent here. With the injuries now, you're trying to trot both of them out to try and get something going. That's a problem.
Well, someone like Polanco who had an injury history as well. It's not something that just caught them by surprise. The tendonitis in his Achilles, and then obviously his wrist issues and his wrist soreness, which the Mets have handled poorly. I think partially of it is probably Jorge Polanco and then whoever within the Mets themselves wanting him to just keep playing because things are bad right now. And, we already IL'd Soto. Do we want to IL another player? Which, again, I would have just IL'd immediately. He's feeling Achilles tendonitis. Rest the guy. He can't, like, if he has to DH, like, is that bad? Like, come on. I really have a tough time getting on, like, the platooning, which I've gotten so tiresome of. And I've said it immediately, like, go get a full-time DH then. Even a guy like, be aggressive on a trade with Yandy Diaz. Even if he may or may not be available with Tampa, like, just be aggressive. You have those resources. That's what annoys me about the David Stearns situations. The Craig Kimbrell's coming in with the wild pitch as well. Dickie Lovelady, he's gone over to the Nats now. I guess they gave us $12 or whatever the hell it was. It's so annoying to see a team with so many resources still managing to cut corners. And I know they're still waiting in the wings because the minor league system was a disaster, right? Dylan Ross is of the world. You can't call him up yet. Lambert isn't ready. Santucci, Weniger, maybe later on in the season, which is sort of a problem still. Because you're still going to rely upon rookies to help you out in this situation. You don't know what will happen, right? We saw in 2015, but I'm tired of talking about 2015, right? What the real problem here is with the Mets, and it's so easy to happen, especially when you don't win a championship for 4 years, is that we've seen a snowball effect before, whether it be an 11-game losing streak or just over the course of mid-June up until that series in Miami. The Mets cannot afford to keep playing this way. And I'm not really sure what Carlos Mendoza can kind of do. They have a super easy schedule on paper coming up with this 9-game homestand. It's Colorado, the Minnesota Twins, and the Nationals.
Same thing.
If you don't get 6 or 7 games out of this, he's got to be fired.
I mean, you say the same thing the other way also, where if you're the Twins, the Rockies, and the Nationals, you're saying, oh boy, you get to go play the Mets now. The Mets are struggling, so we can right our ships here. So it goes both ways. That's not,
Of course.
Yeah.
But it's sort of like for the Mets, you could immediately turn it around almost, right? Like, say, I don't expect it, but would I be utterly shocked if the Mets won 7 in a row after the bullshit that they just pulled, knowing that the New York Metropolitans are that kind of energy where it's like whenever you think and absolutely know it's going to be its worst, then they just magically turn it around somehow. I'm not fully buying into that. All I'm saying is if it's just a Juan Soto difference, like if everyone just changes up the second Soto comes in, which I highly doubt, I don't know what to say then. Because
I think to me, there's 2 options really you're looking at here. I think you're right that this homestand is the critical point here because if you're not turning it around here, if you're not going at least winning every series, let alone going 7-2, like what you want to see them do is like you want to go 2 or 3 of the other 2 series and sweep the Rockies in the ideal world. Then you kind of undo a lot of the damage you did on this road trip and prior to that.
It was a tough road trip, to be fair, too. But 0-6 inexcusable.
Yeah, the toughest road trip of the season, probably in terms of just quality opponents. But I think there's 2 ways you look at this, which is either number one, you fire the manager, and to be fair, it is not the manager's fault. The manager is not out there not hitting or not like executing pitches. The manager's problem is that like he is part of the we're okay, we're gonna follow the process, guys will do well. Make some questionable decisions in game at points, like the whole not walking Nico Horner yesterday. When you have 2 guys behind him who are more strikeout prone, and his reasoning is, well, if you put Nico Horner on, it's going to second base, and the run doesn't matter. The only run that matters is the run at third base, and he had the better chance driving the 2 guys behind him. That's one. Yeah, go ahead.
Keep going. Oh, and I was going to say that's contender of worst quote of the year. I hated that quote. It was stupid. The only guy that matters is the guy on third.
Yes. Right. Yeah. So that's the situation there. Like that stuff like that is mind-boggling for a guy who's in his 3rd year in the league. I do think like he is too patient to a fault with some of his guys like Baty and Vientos. And like saying, I've seen them do it before. They will get it going if you give them time. I think that's something here where like you it's not his fault, but at the same time, you change so much other things and he's a constant. If you go through this homestand, you're like 3-6 on the homestand. I find it hard to see, okay, he's getting on the plane to go out west again. I don't see it. I was like, I think you probably, try Kai Correa and who's in there. And I know Met fans online have been screaming for Beltran. This is not the spot you want to give Carlos Beltran his first managerial job, trying to save the season. I think
because then we're going to see a bunch of Adam Wainwright highlights anytime that they lose a ball game. Like
yeah, I think you get rid of them. I think you at that point you either like send him on his way and just hope that Kai Correa kind of lights a spark onto this team. We've heard that Correa has given Mendoza some good ideas earlier this season. If you're not going to do that, you get rid of multiple players in that room. I know you say you're fine cutting Tommy Pham. It's not his fault in my opinion because
not his fault, but he can't play.
They had a progression plan for him. They abandoned. We'll talk about that in a minute. Like, you can get rid of him. And if it was me, if you get rid of multiple players, Beatty and Vientos, bye-bye. Beatty can go down AAA. Mark Vientos, I understand he had the great 24. We have enough of a sample size here that looks like 24 was the outlier and not what he actually will be. I think if he's going to get there, it's not going to be here. And you can get somebody up here, be more of a useful fit for your roster at that point. So I think if you want to send a shot across the bow, work in 24 and you send 3 guys down after that infamous meeting where Jorge Lopez throws his glove in the stands. So I think that's the way you look at it. Either the manager goes or you're getting multiple players out of the room. Just sitting here saying, oh, Juan Soto's going to save us is not the answer.
No, Vientos with that point, just way too streaky of a player. I don't generally dislike him like I do with Brett Beatty because I think Brett Beatty is he's so mediocre. At least Vientos can like get super hot and try and carry an offense. Brett Beatty has done none of that. Like I've never seen Brett Beatty like where you're like Brett Beatty saved us tonight. That was like a great game and consistency over time. Like usually weak contact. His glove only plays at second and third, in my opinion. You could say whatever you want about first base, the outfield. This is David Stearns trying to put lipstick on a pig. Like it just, which like I kind of respect David trying to make these older guard of players somewhat usable, and he's done decently in regards to that. But the problem with David Stearns is this leash that he gives so many people is way too long. And it's going to cost him his job if he continues this. You're probably right. There's no way he gets fired in the middle of the season. There's zero chance that happens. With Mendoza, I also think Steve Cohen, I think I would fire him immediately. If it's today, like the soft day, I would have fired him already. It's been pretty evident to me that they're not responding to him. I understand Lindor's comments, Devin Williams' comment. Devin Williams had some great comments. I get it, and I respect it on a level. I just think sitting and doing nothing after an 11-game losing streak, after that 2025 collapse, you can't do that. You can't just sit there and say, like, everything is okay. This, to me, when you have Lindor saying Mendy's doing a great job, this is on us, the players. Devin Williams is like, you can fire the manager. It's not going to flip a switch on all these players out of nowhere. They're right in that sense. But also, how do they know? They're just the players. They don't know any better for themselves. The guys higher up are paid to make the decisions that the players don't have to. That's just what irks me, Mike, and I'll end with this here before we move on. If you are David Stearns or Steve Cohen, do you fire Carlos Mendoza on this off day?
On the off day, I don't think so. I think because like I'm looking at this, I think from a perspective of, okay, like I'm coming home. I should have Juan Soto back within a day or two. Like if I think the timeline is okay. I think he has his homestand to try and, stabilize the ship. I think if the ship is not stabilized by the time we're going out west again, you have a 9-game trip out west, I think it's the Angels, the Rockies, and the Diamondbacks again. Like if you were in a bad spot going out in that trip, I don't think Mendoza's going to play at that point.
It's tough because I think Carlos Mendoza is too much of a nice guy. And he is just that type of guy that he shouldn't have to be pushed to an edge to get a reaction. Terry Collins, when he freaked out, the infamous rant, it's just the frustration of the fans being sent into that locker room to let people know that this is unacceptable, that we've been here for 40 years. I don't care if you've been here for 20 games. Lindor knows it. A couple other guys know it that have been here. I think fans rather just see a reaction. They're never going to accept 11-game losing streak with this sort of payroll and letting the players go that they did. And even then, McNeil and Alonso wouldn't even change them. Like people have short-term
Or
memory of what they were doing.
or Diaz at this point. I think only Nimmo would have been, and even Nimmo, we can say, okay, like what he's doing in Texas, he would not be doing here. We've seen it for years.
He's not hitting leadoff, to your point.
He's not hitting leadoff there. And, some guys, change the series works for them. And I think that's the perfect spot for him to play is in Texas.
Yeah. And that's the thing, though, too, that I have a hard time ripping on Stearns with is that how am I going to sit here and say to David Stearns that Bo Bichette was a bad signing? Like, we're all lying to ourselves, are we not? Like, because everyone praised that move. Everyone was happy with it. The Robert move, everyone was happy with Peralta and Myers. I'm sorry, it's bullshit. I'm angry at Stearns for doing stuff like Kimbrel being weak on the pen. In my opinion, back into the rotation's a disaster. There's certain things that David does when the moves go bad. They're glaringly awful. But then there has been good moves. I think a lot of it hinges on what he's building down in AAA, AA, Single A. And that, again, to what I try and make up, he's not a good major league GM with the Mets, right? Like, I think I can say that confidently enough. I think he's mediocre, if anything, if I toss him a bone, right? But with the what his legacy is going to be with the New York Mets is what he's building in the farm for the long term. This is why Steve Cohen hired him. It's exactly why people are like myself are trying their fucking hardest to be patient. But when I see shit like that in 11 games in a row, it's a disaster. And I think the Jorge Polanco injury debacle, Mike, is an extension of that. Why are we sitting here knowing that a player has Achilles tendonitis and then all of a sudden has wrist soreness? We're waiting for him to suddenly turn into Babe Ruth at the plate and then conceding after way too long that he's not healthy enough to be playing, and not only playing every day. This was handled so poorly. This is like typical old Wilpon Mets bullshit. If the guy's hurt, IL him. I get it. New signing, injury. You want him to produce. I don't care. He's not going to be able to produce if he's still playing hurt. You'd rather just let him sit and heal up as best as he can. Like this was handled so shittily. I don't know who you want to blame for it. If it's Mendy, if it's Jorge Polanco himself saying, like, I got to sit, or David Stearns. I put the blame on everybody here because Jorge Polanco should not have been trotted out the second that they knew he had Achilles tendonitis. Should have been IL'd immediately. What do you think?
I think you're a little early on that. I think like if he's fine DHing and he's hitting, I think I'm okay with that because then you can say, okay, he at least his bat's in the lineup, he's still producing. Maybe he can't play the field, but the second he goes to you and says, I can't hit today, my Achilles is flaring up. That's the point he should be on the injured list. We should not be saying, okay, we'll give it a day or two. And like anybody who's dealt with the Achilles or the calf, it's very tricky because you could wake up one day feeling fantastic, then you do too much, next day it's sore again. The only way to really get it done is rest. And the way the Mets screwed this to Puccio on this so badly was they waited forever to do this. They go to LA and then they end this situation here. This leads to a cascade of mistakes and call-ups here. We mentioned Tommy Pham earlier. Tommy Pham, we talked about it last time we were on the show. Tommy Pham the plan was, okay, he's going to sign opening day, have a minor league progression where he's going to go through like every level and get AAA. They brought him up there 5 games. And then they were like, oh, wait, he's not hitting. He's not ready. And they stopped playing him because they needed to generate offense. And then you can't cut him because if you cut him, he's gone. They should have done the pull-ups in reverse. MJ Melendez could have come up here because he was actually playing in AAA and played in spring training. Could have come up first. If you still need offense, at least at that point, maybe Pham is closer to being ready.
Playing very well, by the way.
Yeah. MJ Melendez might be the second best player on the team right now, outside of, Noel McLean.
Positional players.
Yeah. But like, this is something like you do if you flip these call-ups here, or even better, you mentioned Ryan Mauricio before. Ryan Mauricio, the arrogance that they call up is, he's getting very few opportunities when he comes up because we have no spot for him. When half your team is not hitting, and you have the arrogance to call up a third catcher over the weekend and not DH Francisco Alvarez in that game on Sunday.
Another
that
thing
to me is the mind-boggling part of stupidity. And you could have called Mauricio up because you put somebody on the injured list. But because you didn't, you have to wait till at least Thursday now to call him up because you have to stay in the minors for 10 days when you send him down. So this is like epic roster mismanagement, all stemming from one injury.
which is like an inexcusable part on David Stearns, which is like, where's the foresight there? Where's the communication on knowing what players are good or not? And that falls back to the leash of guys like Beatty getting that. And the Mets defense hasn't really been bad. I think that's been something greatly exaggerated by some people.
They've been fine. That's not the problem right now.
No, of course, but it's something that is being spoken as, part of the narrative of David Stearns fucking up. According to people, it's like, oh, run prevention. And it's like, defense has been fine. Like, sure, Beatty sucked in right field. There's certain moments at first base, but not really. Like, it's really Lindor blunders that are mental blunders from a guy who's won Gold Gloves. Like, that's not on the GM there. This shit right here, that's where I get angry. This Tobias Myers to the rotation. We talked about this in spring training, Mike, building Myers up over the course of a season, easing him on in. That's really why he only pitched 2 innings yesterday. Hey, it worked. It worked. It was a good call. You got to give them a good call when they do it. But then obviously the Nico Horner situation and that game going to that. It's unfortunate for Carlos Mendoza when something like this happens. I feel a little bit for him because he nails the huge aspect in this with the pitching. And his offense gives him 1 run, and then it gets magnified with the mistake in the 10th inning.
Yep.
That's what's so frustrating about this stretch as well, when you're just not scoring. The Mets probably would have been around 500 in this 11-game stretch if they simply got a normal 3 to 4 runs per game, considering how well they were pitching at times. The bullpen obviously has not done that great of a job. They've had some pretty awful moments. Tobias Myers to the rotation. I just think you need guys who can help you throw up zeros, right? And when David Peterson as a starter looks like he's throwing batting practice half the time, and throwing the meatballs that are out in like center field, right field, wherever you got them at Citi Field, it's a problem. Peterson did fine against the Cubs yesterday. 0 complaints about it. Is Myers really the long-term solution here? What do you see? Was this really just a game thing for the opener because Peterson has been so tough and the Mets just need wins? What do you kind of make of this whole situation?
I'm not sure if this is actually going to stick, because I know that there was a lot of reporting pregame yesterday that, we wanted to set the situation up with Myers because a lot of teams are stacking Rays against Peterson at the top of the line. We're trying to try and neutralize it. He's not really built up. They were talking about getting him 1 time through, and they didn't. I think he only got like 7 batters. They went to Peterson or Pete Crow Armstrong. I think this is a situation where they were kind of playing the game here of like, okay, Peterson's struggling to start games. Myers can go a couple innings, then we'll go to Peterson, which if you want to do that, sure, that's great. Like, you have that option. But I don't think this is truly he's being replaced in the rotation. I think it's going to be very situational. I think they do like what Myers gives them as a multi-inning bullpen threat. I think it's just having to be, we're trying to win a baseball game, and this is the best opportunity for us to win a baseball game. And that's what this was.
Yeah, exactly. And David Peterson had those comments, right, where he's just like, whatever, man, we got to win a game. Like that, which is what I appreciate about these players. And I know nobody really wants to hear that, is that they get it, right? Like, no one feels worse about this 11-game losing streak than the players themselves, and probably whatever psychopath Mets content creators are out there looking for clicks. Like, it just is what it is. They try to do something, it worked, but the offense is just not hitting. And that's kind of all you can say at this point. We spent 30 minutes on this show on the New York Mets. It's time to move on, guys.
Yeah, I think so. They might be about like 15 minutes too many.
Well, 11 games, they asked for it. Ben Rice being misused. More New York managers being bizarre, maybe arrogance from the GMs, the presidents. Ben Rice is one of the best hitters in baseball. Forgot about the Yankees. And they're sitting him in instances against lefties. And Aaron Boone is giving these head-scratching press conferences or comments about it. And you're just saying to yourself, shut up. Play the guy every day. Otherwise, your offense is going to be very inconsistent because they've struggled at times so far this season. And obviously, very early for the Yankees. There's no reason to panic. They're not the Mets. But I find it very, very, very difficult to garner excuses for not playing Ben Rice every day. We'll be quick on this. Why is Aaron Boone ever sitting Ben Rice?
Because the Yankees are very much a organization that lives by the book, dies by the book. The book says the platoon advantage matters, and that righties have a better chance against left-handed pitching, and they will do this. We saw this extreme game last week where they sat, I think, 4 lefties against like, who was in here first last week? I'm trying to remember like what series that was. Like where they
Angels?
is the Angel series, yes, where they sat 4 guys I think against Reed Detmers, I want to say was the thing here. Like to me, it's just one of those things you look at. It's like, okay, I can understand, for you want to get Paul Goldschmidt some run. Maybe Jazz Chisholm's not hitting lefties well. Certainly Ryan McMahon's not earned the right to face lefties here. But when you have a guy hitting 340 overall and just crushing baseballs and probably one of the keys to your offense, I want to hear, we've got to find the spot to fire him and got to put him in the right spot. Like, are we firing Aaron Judge against certain righties? No. Like, Aaron Judge earned the right to play every day. So is Ben Rice. And to be fair to Boone, he did start Ben Rice against the lefty on Sunday. That worked out pretty nicely for him. He homered in that game too. So I think Ben Rice's point is matchup proof. I think you just have to assume, okay, he's in the lineup every single day. He's a day off occasionally. Fine. That's where you can put Goldschmidt in there. But like, enough of this platoon bullshit with Ben Rice. Ben Rice has earned the right to be an everyday player.
Ben Rice is the Yankees' second best hitter.
Correct.
And I think, and it's by quite some distance too. I actually don't even think it's close. Yeah, I mean, just like this is where the Yankee arrogance pisses me off, and I'm not a Yankees fan. This is just like, stop trying to be smarter than everyone else. Like, you sound stupid by trying to sound smart, because Ben Rice, by most normal statistics, the original statistics, right? We could call them the Old Testament statistics.
I have his line right here. 338 on the season, a 1276 OPS, 8 homers, 18 RBIs, 12 runs scored. He homered the second inning off a lefty, Cole Reagan, yesterday.
And the WRC plus, do you have that statistic by chance?
Well, Yahoo fans does not have that statistic.
Okay. Well, for all the nerds out there, it's high. It's good.
Yeah.
It's just this is just silly Yankee arrogance. I think it'll be like a footnote in something of this season later on. I think it just doesn't make sense. Like you said, he just hit one off of Cole Reagan's. Like, he's dominating right now. Like, it's just
4 straight games with a homer, Ben Rice.
I guess Aaron Boone or Brian Cashman just likes to be silly. I have literally no other words for it. Gerrit Cole's rehab begins. This will be huge for the Yankees. Yeah, man, I just think this is the best team in the American League at this point. There's going to be rivals throughout the season, probably the postseason. But this is a really good Yankees team, and getting Gerrit Cole back into the fold here is going to be massive for him. So what do you got as far as his rehab goes?
Yeah, he made his first rehab start Friday at Double-A, threw 4 1/3 innings, 44 pitches. He had 3 runs, 3 hits, 1 walk, struck out a couple guys, get up a home run, sort of mullet here. But like, I think it's clear they said after he's going to need multiple starts. This is part of basically like a spring training progression for him. Of note here, don't think people caught this as much. They not put him on the 60-day IL this beginning of the season. They put him on the 15-day ILs, which means that they were anticipating he's going to be back a little quicker than we thought he is. So like, I would expect, probably another 2-3 rehab starts here. We're in late April. Like, I think you're looking at before Memorial Day, you see Gerrit Cole back in the Yankee rotation, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I just think Gerrit Cole is just one of those humble superstars that never causes any trouble, always does his job, works very hard, and yeah, I don't know. He's just one of the best pitchers of his generation, but it always just doesn't feel like outside of the Yankees fan base that he gets his flowers. I think normal baseball people give him the recognition that he deserves, but he's consistently been great for years. And I just want to see him make a great and healthy comeback because he's that good of a pitcher. So hoping the rehab goes well for Gerrit Cole. Things are not going well for the Boston Red Sox, Mike. We have looked not so great on certain picks this year. The Boston Red Sox, they suck. Roman Anthony made a decent throw. There's that. There was just so much pressure and tension within the Boston Red Sox world because of how the Sox have been ran. You see John Henry's face at certain ball games where people are infuriated by him.
Yeah.
They're off to a bad start. A lot of mental errors, defensive mistakes, offense not very good. Garrett Crochet got shit on in one of his games. One of the worst fantasy starts that people have ever seen in their lives.
Yeah, they're playing the Patriot Day game today too, and Sonny Gray left with the trainer. He had a hamstring injury here, so that's more bad news for the Red Sox.
Well, breaking news there. I don't know how they turn it around. That division is too tough. They might be a sunken cost already. Do you think so? I mean, the Yankees got to just dominate here.
Yeah, I think this is a spot here. If you're the Yankees and you're dealing with this team, like this is a spot. I know right now. I think they're 8-13. Who knows how this game with the Tigers goes? It's tied 2-2 as we're talking right now. Here, you look at the pitching matchups here. You got Schlittler going into Fenway for the first time in this series since the end of the season. Here, you got Luis Seal tomorrow. You got Fried on Wednesday. Here, like you want to try like make things as miserable as possible. You have an opportunity theoretically to bury this team early in this division, which is something that they've been a problem for you over the years. Like I think if they had a healthy second start, they beat you in the wild card series last year. You have this opportunity to put them in a very, very deep hole. You miss Crochet in the series. You miss Sonny Gray in the series. The Red Sox throwing Connolly early, Ranger Suarez, and Brian Bayo, who are not like the top rotation guys for them here. You need to at least win this series for the Yankees here. I think they will win this series at least 2 out of 3. I'm not feel great about tomorrow because Luis Seal does not look spectacular, but I think you're winning the back 2 games here. And I don't know if you heard about Cam Schlittler currently getting death threats on social media from Red Sox fans going here. I mean, guys, come on, grow up.
Yeah, but there's so many idiots on the internet. Cam was doing like what any young modern athlete does, and they troll. And I back him up on it. I guess Sox fans find it more personal because Cam kind of grew up one in that area of the country as well. It's pathetic. I mean, just like anytime that happens, I'm not even like surprised coming from the background of like soccer fandom and seeing the kind of shit that goes down over there. It's just people are just inexcusable losers, and hopefully none of that is even remotely serious. But the Yankees, I expect them to take care of business against the Red Sox. You don't want to give them any sort of lifeline, especially even early in the season when they started so poorly. So we'll see how that series goes for them.
Yeah, interesting note also on this game, people may not aware of this here. The Thursday game is a 6:00 start on FS because of FS1. So you might, if you're planning to watch this game, be ready an hour early. It's probably good for you if you want to watch the NFL draft and the Yankee. You probably get most of the Yankee in before the draft starts.
Yeah. Padres sold for a record $3.9 billion, Mike. It really looked like there were rumors and rumblings in the offseason, if a sale probably didn't go through, that you could see a potential fire sale of offloading of major contracts like a Tatis, a Bogarts, even Manny Machado, for instance, right? Those were just rumors at the end of the day. This is a big sale. And it's a record $3.9 billion. Steve Cohen and the Mets no longer hold that one. So this is huge money. And listen, you already mentioned it. You don't want to hear about owners being broke when this type of deal happens. Because what does this also do, Mike, that we all know? Whenever a team gets sold for record money, what does that do?
It raises
the valuation of every other team in Major League Baseball.
Yep. And before we dive into this a little more, I want to ask you, as the soccer guy, like the Padres buyer is Jose Feliciano is the co-owner of Chelsea. Like, you're more of a soccer guy than I am. Like, what can you tell me about like how this guy runs his teams?
Well, he doesn't run Chelsea because that is Todd Bowley, who is a huge part of Guggenheim, which runs the Dodgers. Todd Bowley is a fucking disaster as an owner. Chelsea are just like kind of all over the place. They have a plan. They don't have a plan. Their plan is moronic. It's a different sport. It's a totally different ecosystem, ethos. I can't speak on Feliciano and what he might end up doing, but I would say this: you don't buy a team for $3.9 billion and have the sports portfolio that these guys have and not invest money, which I think would be the major concern of Padres fans because of past ownership spending all of that and actually going for it, competing with the Dodgers and, putting together a really strong team behind AJ Preller. It's just impossible to say, right? I think they'll spend money, but at the end of the day, I don't see how we can know for sure.
Yeah.
Does AJ Preller get more of a leash here? Like, I don't know. It's a fascinating situation. I think Preller actually probably bought himself some more time with this sale now.
Yeah, I think if you're for sure, I think like this is something here that you see this number and you're like a players association rep, you're circling this number here and saying, okay, if you guys are doing so badly money wise and what this is a losing proposition, like how is like the team on sale in California, a small market, going for almost $4 billion? Like I know the owners kind of look like we had the Nationals on the market, we couldn't sell them. We had the Twins on the market, we couldn't sell them. Like I think this is one of those things where like keep this number in mind when you're looking at labor negotiations at the end of the season.
Yeah, again, more and more likely 162 is off the table for 2027. There's no other way to say that. That Mets fans, that's the only good news we have for you today on the show. And there's more good news for Padres fans. Mason Miller is incredible. He could be the first Cy Young winner out of the pen since
Eric Gagne.
Yeah, of course. It's such an easy answer, right? Everybody knows it.
Yeah.
I don't think Mason Miller is taking PEDs, but who knows? At the end of the day, this is actually, I know this word gets tossed around loosely these days, especially in sports, Mike, but this is a generational pitcher, right? Like I actually think he's entered in those conversations at this point with his secondary pitches because we know what the fastball is, right? It's a black and white thing. You're throwing over 100 miles an hour, you're a demon. But with those other pitches, he's terrifying.
Yeah. Just to clarify some of the numbers here this season, he has already, a couple of saves. He has 8 saves this season. He has an ERA of 0, a whip of 0.35 in 11 and 3rd innings pitched. Up just 2 hits, 2 walks this season, struck out 27 in that time. That literally is just like, as soon as he comes in, like you're doing nothing offensively. Like it shows you how dominant he's been. And he probably won't win the Cy Young because like the default from the writers has been, okay, if a guy is great for 180 innings, it's more valuable. A guy is great for 70 innings, but these 70 innings might be worth, he might get 2nd or 3rd place votes on the ballots if he, racks up a 40 save season, has an ERA under 1, and is like putting up like 120 strikeouts of the bullpen, which he's on pace for. It seems like.
Yeah, it's a difficult one too, right? It falls in line and it reminds me, this is just an analogy with like a relief pitcher winning Cy Young is anyone that's not a quarterback winning MVP.
Yeah,
like you have to do something so generationally great, like Adrian Peterson doing what he did off an ACL tear, or God knows what else as a receiver. Like it's very difficult to win the MVP if you're not a quarterback. There's guys that have gotten off to rough starts in the NL that are Cy Young candidates. Do you kind of see like Logan Webb, for example, right? I mean, Skeens will be fine. Probably going to end up winning it.
Yeah.
Do you see like an avenue there? Like it's just Miller's got to come in multiple games of like at least 2 innings this year. Like I don't even know what's happening. He's also talked about flirting with the idea of starting. Like that's been brought up to him, and that's a question he's answered.
I believe he said no to that too. I think they asked him, he want to start. He said, "Nah, I love being back here and just dominating back here." I think he said no. I think he likes being a weapon out of the bullpen. He says, "I'm more valuable here to you than I am as a starter." I think is interesting. For most guys, you want them to start more, but he might be the exception here. I don't think he's going to get the award. I think once Skeens turns around, Yamamoto was my pick to win the size off to a great start for the Dodgers as well. He's already got a 2.10 ERA and struck out, 21 guys in 25 2/3 innings. Like, I don't think he's going to do enough to win the side. I think he'll be in that conversation for sure. Just remarkable for a reliever.
I think he's the best. I would say he's the best reliever that I've seen come up and debut in the major league since Chapman. I think when Chapman came up, he was just electric. When a guy's like throwing, what did he hit? Like 106 at one point or no?
Yeah, he was 105.
105 or 1. Either way, it's insane. But I don't think Chapman, I know his slider was always terrific. I don't think Chapman ever had these sort of secondary pitches. Like pure talent level, Mason Miller is arguably the most talented reliever that I've seen. Mariano, there's always just the cutter, which is just the most unhittable pitch in baseball history, in my opinion. But what Mason Miller is doing, pure talent-wise stuff out of the pen, he might be the most talented reliever I've ever seen. I'm not even sure if that's an exaggeration. One of the greatest we've ever seen for sure, and this is not an exaggeration, is Mike Trout. Is he back to being baseball Jesus, Mike?
Yeah. Well, I know you were watching Yankee Stadium last week, certainly thinks. I mean, he's the first visiting player, I think, ever to homer in 4 straight games at Yankee Stadium, which is absurd. Like he has an OPS season of 980, which is great. Like I think you wish he would stop playing the outfield because like his bat, like
at least center, go to a corner.
I think he was in the corner last year. I think he's listed as a right fielder on ESPN. I don't know if he's still playing right field a lot. If he's playing primarily center, I have to go check some of these recent games.
Joe Adell robbing 3 home runs makes you think different, right?
Yeah, he's playing center field again right now, which I think is not great for his long-term health. But like in terms of like the bat, and we worry about Mike Trout because he hasn't been really healthy in years, but like he's still got the pop. He's said he wants to run again. We'll see if he actually wants to run again here. But like, it reminds you, like, it's so frustrating to him because like he's so talented. He's had so many injuries, and the Angels have wasted his entire career because this is a guy who was in the conversation as like one of the greatest players in the history of the sport. He hasn't been to the playoffs in 12 years. That's absurd to think about.
It is absurd. And I did float this idea to you and other Mets fans, friends, before the season even started. It might have been the first series of the year. Trade for Mike Trout. Make him your full-time DH. Who gives a shit how much money it is?
Yeah.
I buy into this Trout stuff because of his recovery process is different. This has nothing to do with like, I hate that he's playing center field. He could easily miss games because of it. Like, it's not good enough for his body at his age. I think it's a mistake, just straight up. I'm not even going to sugarcoat that. However, I do think what matters most with your body and how you take care of yourself is your recovery process after a certain age, right? We see it with LeBron James. We know about all the money that he spends recovering with his body. Cristiano Ronaldo does it. Messi does it. There's so many different things that you could use and processes now at this level, especially for someone like Trout. And he's talked about in multiple interviews saying, I'm doing everything I can after every game or series to help my body rest so that I could be okay for these next games. I think that's a super, super important thing for him where I do kind of, if healthy, again, which is a huge question mark with this guy, this is still one of the best hitters in baseball. I do think he's that dangerous. We see it in Yankee Stadium. He's striking out a lot still, right? Like that's just going to naturally happen as time goes on. He's still so dangerous that he's going to be able to draw walks. You cited the OPS. You're worried about, long term with the outfield. It's just not something you want, but it's the Angels, right? Like, what are their options? Mike Trout is one of the greatest players of all time, even with all the injuries that have happened to him. I think if he has this sort of renaissance in the second half of his career here, it would do, so many wonders for his legacy, because this really is like, if you look back on it and you see those numbers from those first few years, I am one of those people that took Mike Trout for granted.
Yeah.
I didn't realize to the extent of what we were watching. He felt like he's just so emotionless and he makes everything look so easy. He's kind of like a video game type of player. Judge to an extent, but Judge is like setting all-time records. So you're kind of like, the proof is in the pudding and he's a monster. But they both have similar personalities. What I want to see from Mike Trout is get me 140 games, baby, and show me the numbers at the end of it. Because then, if I'm Perry Minasian and whatever, forget about Artie, right?
Yeah.
I have to take advantage of trading Mike Trout. As devastating as it might be for Angels fans, for everybody involved, trade Mike Trout. Send him somewhere that he could do something. 12 years. Well, how many other sports, Mike, where you have someone that's like in the conversation for one of the best players ever misses the playoffs that much? I really have a hard time thinking of the sport where a guy of that level misses the, and I know how baseball is, right? We didn't see Barry Bonds win a World Series. Took A-Rod forever, but like those guys were getting to the playoffs. They were on competitive baseball teams. Mike Trout is like, it's the saddest shit. And part of it's his fault, right? You're accepting that contract. You didn't want to wait for free agency. I just want to see a full season because I saw like in a limited sample size last year with not great health, they're pretty decent numbers that are, a lot better than what a lot of guys put out there.
Yeah. The thing with Mike Trout also, it's just, obviously like, it's crazy. The Angels had him and prime Shohei and couldn't make the playoffs with that team. Like that's just pure travesty of mismanagement. He has a full no trade though, Mike Trout. So like he has full control over where he wants to go. Like you don't sign that thinking like, okay, I'm ready to get out of Dodge at the first opportunity. Like the team I would watch here in terms of like, like I don't think
I know who you're gonna say. I think I know, but go ahead.
Yeah, like he's a Philly guy. Like the Phillies are pot committed here. Like they have openings in the outfield here, and center field's a little smaller than the Angel Stadium one is. So I would watch the Phillies here if he ever decides he wants to move.
For who? Like it's
this might be it could be, like prospects to clear some of the money for the Angels. I could see that.
It's gotta be prospects eating the entire contract. I don't think they want Alec Boehm at all. I think that's already been kind of floated to them anyway. So it was like an idea.
I think you're like asking like for like Andrew Painter and some of like their young position players. Like that's what you're asking for in a Trout return.
I don't think it happens because of Philly's start. I don't think it does. It's brutal. Again, I know it's not going to happen, but I said it. I'd trade Mike Trout and just make him the DH for the Mets. Easy call. Like
Yeah.
zero questions,
Yeah.
reservations.
I don't think Trout would take a deal where he's being told as a DH, basically on his pride want to play center field.
Then that's the difficulty of it. It's just that like the biggest problem for Mike Trout is Mike Trout.
Yeah.
I think Mike Trout makes too many poor career decisions that have hindered him from having. I know it's difficult to say in the 21st century when you have, Barry Bonds having played in it. Overall, baseball, right? Like positional players, right?
Yeah.
We take out the Ohtani Maverick of it all. Like positional players that give you like all the tools. Trout is the best.
Oh yeah.
Power, speed, defense. What else am I missing here? Contact wise, he was hitting well over 300 many times. Like it's career wise, just the top 5 MVP finish. I think there was more top 3 MVP finishes than most players that we've seen post Bonds. Besides Judge is probably in that conversation now too. But you saw like the careers lined up and stacked. No offense to Aaron Judge, I think he's a very fine outfielder. Not close to what Trout was out there defensively, and also not even close to him on the base paths.
Yeah, Mike Trout's career OPS better than guys like Stan Musial. Think about that.
Trout is as good as people said he was. I just hope he stays healthy and plays over 140 games, Mike. We'll see if that ends up happening. I'd be very happy for him because the way this AL MVP race could be shaping up, Yordan Alvarez as well. Just a quick shout out to him. Another guy I hope stays healthy. 10 homers already. Killing it. Judge has a quiet 9 home runs.
Yeah, he got hot this week.
Incredible. And by the way, that game where Trout hit a couple of home runs and Judge hit one too, when they went back to back, that's actually one of the best regular season moments I've seen in quite some time. To me, that's the romanticization of baseball that is kind of lost, where you have legends like that trading blows in just a regular season game in April. To me, that's what makes baseball so great, seeing stuff like that. Mike, we are wrapping up this episode after many long rants. Let the good people know where they can go and find you on social media. We've had you on the ticker as well throughout the episode.
Yeah, you can follow me on social media, mphillips331. It's MPHILIPS331. So you go over the Just the Suffering podcast. I mentioned last week, I got the guy from the Sorry to Interrupt podcast on to preview the NBA playoffs. We got that up here. We're got an NFL draft episode. See if I can get that one out for you before the draft comes in later this week here. And I will say, Sky Guys wise, Mall Shadow Lord. We are still doing that. Week 3 dropped the episodes today. I watched them before we came on here. We're going to record that on Tuesday this week. So look for that on Wednesday. Sky Guys podcast and podcast platform top of the show. You can also talk about, the writing, fan side, and doing stuff on college basketball, NFL draft, Mets on SI, Mets coverage over there. Check it all out.
Yeah, check out every single bit of that. You guys can follow me at Martino Puccio on most platforms, Martino Puccio on Twitter. Not as much baseball content on the Twitter. I would probably stay away from there, but everywhere else, be sure to go and check out that video content. Obviously, like and subscribe to U Stadium's YouTube channel here. NFL Draft this Thursday. Harrison Meadows is where the U Stadium draft party is going to be taking place. I will be there watching and waiting to see what the New York Jets will do to make me very upset once again. It's not even something like I don't find it funny. I'm sick of it. Arvell Reese, according to multiple books and places, is supposedly going to be the second overall pick for the Jets. There's still whispers of David Bailey. We don't know. Sounding like Reese from everything I read. Don't know what's going to happen at number 16. If there's a trade up, Mike,
I watch receiver at 16 because that's one of the few positions they didn't add in the offseason. I feel like they're targeting receiver there.
That's the logical move. I'll say that. Yes. It's the New York Jets. I don't.
Well, the general manager seems pretty logical from what we've seen.
I thought Joe Douglas was competent at a point. So you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a tough one. And then the Giants obviously getting Dexter Lawrence traded over to the Cincinnati Bengals for the 10th overall pick. We'll see what happens there. Really, changing of the guard with Harbaugh being there. Just also like to mention Braylon Edwards and Kerry Rhodes both showing up to the party this Thursday. Braylon, obviously, I think he's a Jets legend, all things considered. Kerry Rhodes was a phenomenal ball hawk in his prime for the Jets. Always doing good work with U Stadium as well. So it's an exciting moment in that regard. The draft party is always fun. Guys, even if you don't like golfing, I highly suggest going to it. It's a really good time. You could see Jets fans like myself get very upset at some of the picks, and then you could see all the excitement of some of the other fans. There's going to be Jets, Giants fans, other creators there, and shows being mentioned and launched. But other than that, we'll see by next week how many games the New York Mets have won on their homestand, if they even win a game. Final points. No, it's fine.
Can they go 3 full podcast recorders out of victory? We'll see.
Shit, has it really been? You're right.
This will be the third one.
Well,
if they don't win one next in this stretch here. If they don't win one this week, I definitely think we'll have a new manager at this point.
Yes, it could very well be Carlos Beltran. So, but we'll see what ends up happening. Again, guys, we appreciate you all so much. Thanks for all the feedback, and we'll see you next week. We'll see if the Mets win.